Have you ever seen someone who makes 10, 12, 20 times more money than you and ask yourself the question, how's that even possible? Well, I've wondered that. In fact, I remember a conversation I had with one of my mentors about a certain individual who's on the internet. If I named them, you would know them. And I said, how much money do you think that guy makes? And he said, oh, probably about $800,000 a month. And I thought to myself, $800,000 a month? How do you make that kind of money? And this was back in probably 2015, where I was nowhere near $800,000 a month. And what I discovered is you can turn your yearly income into your monthly income. And when you do, it's going to absolutely blow your mind. That's what I'm going to show you how to do on this video.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Musari Show. Welcome back to the Musari Podcast, everyone. Hope you had an awesome week. Today we got an interesting episode, but before we get into it, please do be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. That's a great way of supporting our channel. Today we got a very interesting episode, as mentioned before, and it's about a very interesting and revealing teaching by Myron Golden. I had the privilege of meeting him virtually this week. I participated on a live call where we participants were allowed to ask questions and he gave answers to it. So the first time I came across him was around last year, maybe about a year and a half ago or a bit less than that. There's a video on YouTube that's very interesting. I recommend everybody to go and check it out. It's called How They Program You to Be Poor, right? So when you check this video out, you find that Myron Golden explains the 4 levels of value, right? The 4 levels of value pretty much discusses the 4 levels at which you create value and how that translates to 4 different levels of wealth. Like the world's richest are at the highest level of value, and obviously the poorest people, the poorest employees in the world are on the lowest level of value. So what really blew my mind about this is I've always been curious to understand where Myron got that knowledge from. I thought maybe he got it from a book or something. So I asked him the question and his answer really just blew my mind. So before we get into that, we're going to watch the clip where Myron Golden explains the 4 different levels of value. We're going to come back and break it down. Then I'm going to give you a summary of how the conversation went, the exact question that I asked him, and the answer was so mind-blowing. And I believe that if you're an entrepreneur or somebody who wants to create wealth and create value at a higher level, I believe it's going to blow your mind. It's going to change your life. I must admit that I'm still on the journey of getting to where I want to get to, and this has really changed the course of my journey. So let's check this video, then we're going to come back and react to it.
Y'all have heard me teach you on the 4 levels of value. So in Genesis chapter 1, God set up 4 levels of value. Which one of these levels you work on? See, here's the lie we believe. We believe the lie that if I deliver more value, then I should be paid more money. Here's the problem with that. More value doesn't generally make you exponentially more money. See, giving someone more of what's already not worth it doesn't mean you deserve more money. So instead of giving more value, learn to work at a higher level of value. Like all value is not created equally. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that I'm delivering a lot of value at the highest levels. That's what will make you a multimillionaire. Say, I don't want to be a multimillionaire. Okay, then deliver a little value at a higher level. And you can double your revenue, you can double your income. So the lowest level of value is implementation, right? Implementation, okay, so I'm going to give you another thought to think about while you're thinking about the thought I just gave you. Wealth is a spiritual outcome. Wealth is a spiritual outcome. God is not a God of lack. He is a God of abundance. The gold is mine and the silver is mine, saith the Lord. That's what the Bible says. So wealth is a spiritual outcome. The reason implementation is the lowest level of value is because the resource you use on this level is you use your muscles times time. And muscles watch this now, are a physical resource, and time is a limited resource. So if you are multiplying a physical resource times a limited resource, you cannot get an unlimited spiritual result. Am I swinging too fast this morning? Little rope-a-dope. This can't work. This is what we call, when it comes to making money, you are running financially. And the only thing you ever do to attempt to increase your income is buy some new running shoes. That's why people go from job to job to job to job to job, and then they go back to school so they can get a more expensive pair of shoes, but they're still running. And it doesn't work. And so what we have to do is we have to level up to a higher level of value. Now, the second level of value is unification. Unification, on this level, you use your management skills times people times time to make money. And managing people is a higher spiritual activity than doing the thing yourself. See, this is called leverage by delegation, right? So you're leveraged by delegation. So down here on this level, you're going to make somewhere between minimum wage and $80,000 a year. $80,000 a year if you work on high-end cars, okay? But on this level, you're going to make somewhere between $40,000 a year and $250,000. $250,000 a year. Oh, that's better. How many of y'all agree that's better, right? That's better. But when it comes to income, one of the things that I would recommend that you use as a standard for yourself moving forward, when it comes to income, I like floors, but I don't like ceilings. Right? Floors, no ceilings. So there's a minimum amount I don't want to go below, but there's no maximum amount I don't desire to go above. Are y'all tracking? Okay? So the next level is where wealth begins to be created above this line. Wealth begins to be created above this line. And above this line, you could make anywhere from 100K to 100 million. What is that level? It's called communication. And on the communication level of value, you're using your mouth to make money. And it's somehow or another, something about this. Now, here's what's really interesting. Are y'all ready? How can it be possible that talking makes you more money than hammering nails or carrying bricks? Carrying bricks is way harder. Hammering nails is way harder. How is it possible that somebody who talks makes exponentially more money than somebody who drives a truck across the country? Driving a truck across the country is way harder because you don't get paid based on the level of difficulty of the work you do. You get paid based on the level of value of the work you're delivering on. And see, when you can communicate, you can create messages that move the masses. You can have conversations that create cash flow. And guess what is interesting about language, communication? Only spiritual beings have language. In fact, if you took some money out of your wallet right now, $20 bill, $100 bill, I left my wallet in the other room, $20 bill, $100 bill, whatever, you got it in your hand, you got this money in your hand, you look at it, what's backing it? What's backing our currency in the United States of America? What backs it? Nothing. There's nothing that backs it. Since Nixon took us off the gold standard, there's nothing backing the money. So how could $100 be worth $100 if there's nothing backing it? Here's how. Because we believe it's worth it, because here's what it says, $100. So $100 is worth $100, watch this now, because of the message it carries and the faith it creates. And language and faith are both spiritual. Are y'all tracking with me? And so, better than getting a better job, it would serve you and your family better to become a better communicator. Like, you'll make $100,000 a year if you're down here selling cars. If you're an A-list actor, an A-list singer, or you're a songwriter or a film writer or a script writer for movies, you might make $100 million a year. Actors make tens and hundreds of millions of dollars communicating fake messages. How much money could you make if you delivered a real message? It's like total game changer. And here's what's amazing. I don't know what adults said to you when you were a child, but when I was a child, here's what adults said. Children are to be seen and not heard. We are programmed not to talk. If you're in school and you start talking, you get in trouble for talking. And so talking is not something that we said, you know what, one of these days I'm gonna grow up and I'm just gonna talk for a living. I'm gonna write books and communicate messages. I'm gonna sell stuff. I'm gonna write songs. Because they also gave us a identity. You're not smart enough to write books. You don't sing good enough to sing songs. Am I telling y'all the truth? And we bought the lie, and it's already cost us a fortune. And so 100,000, 100 million, and then the top level, it's crazy, but it's not crazy. The top level is imagination. This is where the great fortunes are made. Imagination, on this level, you use your mind, and you use your money and money to make money. Up here, on the low end, you're like at the bottom of the top, you're gonna make $1 million a year. I remember, I can remember, do I have time to tell you the story? I do. I remember back in, I think it was 2005, I was making about $30,000 a month. I was making more money than anybody in my sphere of influence. I thought I was a baller. I'm making $30,000 a month. I was like, yeah, bro, we doing things. And my expenses were like $5,000 a month. So it was like nothing by comparison, right? And I went to this Robert G. Allen wealth retreat seminar in Washington, D.C. And Robert G. Allen was one of the people who I learned a lot of stuff from. I read a lot of his books. His book was the first book I read on internet marketing called Multiple Streams of Internet Marketing. So I read a lot of his books. I had listened to a lot of his audio programs. And he asked for a testimony. I said, yeah, I'm doing great. I've been like using your stuff for the last couple of years. I got a 6 CD series that I got from you that I listen to all the time. And I used to be a trash man making $6.25 an hour, and now I'm living like a king. I'm making $30,000 a month. He's like, wow, you're doing really good. You're about to have a breakthrough to the really big money. And there were 700 people there. My first thought was, did he just diss my $30,000 a month in front of 700 people? How dare he? And then I thought, wait, there's a level where $30,000 a month ain't a lot of money? Oh, let's go. You don't have to tell me twice. Let's go. Right? And so the only limitations that you really have are the ones that you carry around with you in your mind that cause you to put on the brakes when you should step on the gas.
So you saw the clip by Myron Golden with its very intriguing teaching. Now let's break it down. Before we get into the 4 levels of value, one foundation that we need to lay is that wealth is a spiritual outcome. So in other words, money is spiritual, right? Myron Golden is a Christian. I'm a Christian too. And I could pick up that Myron Golden got that teaching from Jewish people, right? So I'm a big follower of Rabbi Daniel Lapin. He is a Jewish rabbi who does teach a lot about money and wealth. And one thing that he also teaches is that money is spiritual, right? So what does that mean? Let's compare a 1 penny coin, right? A 1 cent coin to like $100 bill, right? So when you look at the material, the $100 bill is made of paper. Paper comes from wood, while the 1 cent coin is made of copper. Now, if you look at the value of the material, the copper is obviously more valuable than the paper money, right? But what makes money, the $100 bill in this case, more valuable than the 1 cent coin? It's the message that it carries, right? And we believe in the message. So the $100 bills is telling you that this is worth $100. But although the 1 cent penny is more valuable in terms of the material that it's made, the message that it's getting across is inferior to the $100 bill. It's telling you that it's worth 1 cent. And based on that, we buy and sell, and we trade goods and services in the market based on the message that the money carries. So money is spiritual. So that is the foundation for the 4 levels of value. So in other words, when you look at the value that you create, the more spiritual the value is, the more wealth you're going to create. And the less spiritual it is, the less value it's going to create. Now let's break it down. The first level of value is implementation, right? So these are like physical jobs. Implementation is where you use your muscles versus time to make money. What are examples of some professions? Professions like being a janitor, like being a bricklayer, being a carpenter. There's nothing wrong with that profession. However, in order for you to make money, you have to physically be at your working place, and you need to physically deliver the value in order to get paid. And you get paid according to time. The problem with that is that muscles are physical and time is finite, right? So over time, as you get older, your muscle power reduces and time is limited because we don't live forever. So that means that as you get older, your ability to deliver value is going to decrease. And obviously our lifetime is also finite, so we're only limited to a certain space of time to which we can create value. You cannot create value beyond the time that you're given, right? So that's why this is like the lowest paid bracket. Some people can argue, okay, what about professional athletes, right? Because a lot of them are really high paid people, although they belong to a very high tax bracket. They're heavily taxed too. When you look at them, their careers are very short. A lot of them start their careers, let's say, in the early 20s or even late teens. And by the time they get to, let's say, their early, mid, or late 30s, and some even up to like their early 40s, they're no longer able to deliver value in that way, and they have to move on. Some of them get injured, and some of them end up being broke after retirement. You do find exceptions. You do find people like, Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Michael Jordan, who really leverage on their brand and continue to make money after retirement. But the general rule is that this bracket here has a very high limitation. The second level of value is unification. This is where you use your management skills, people, and time to create value, right? So from a spiritual perspective, this level is higher than level 1, right? Because you're now not doing the job yourself, but you're managing other people that do the job for you. And they're pretty much using their muscles and their time to create value while you're using your management skills. So here you're generally more compensated than the person under you, right? So in the previous one, we gave examples of, carpenters, janitors. We gave examples of sports athletes, right? So in this one here, a good example could be someone who is a supervisor to the carpenter or supervisor to janitors. They don't actually use their muscle power to make money, but rather they manage a group of people that use their muscle power, right? But the problem with this unification level is that these people are owned by companies. So if you look at Myron Golden's teaching, he gives an estimate of the range of income and salary that they earn per annum from the value they create, right? If my memory doesn't fail me, this is the range between plus minus $400,000 to $250,000 per annum in the United States. And the compensation varies according to markets because, the economic realities are different. Now, when we get to level 3 and level 4, it gets really interesting. That's where he puts like the dotted line in between. Because at level 3 and level 4, that's when you start making real wealth. Level 3 is communication, where you use your mouth to make money, right? Because communication is a spiritual thing. You're getting a message across. Through communication, you can move masses, right? Because he asked a very interesting question. Let's say if you're a bricklayer, you're carrying heavy bricks every day. You're getting on top of scaffolds, right? And you're really risking your life. And some people walk around with cuts and bruises every day from the very physical tasks that they do. On the other hand, we use communication. It's less physical and less hard. However, you get to move masses and you really influence opinions. And people make a whole lot more money with this. Examples of professions of people who use communication to make money include singers. A lot of artists are pretty wealthy. Actors, speakers, and even YouTubers. I know a lot of YouTubers that make over $10,000 or even over $100,000 a month just from their communication skills. The better they are at communicating, the more they get compensated for it. I mean, I know YouTubers who explain economic concepts and they explain what's happening in the economy, and they make more money than a lot of economists that I know that work for top tier banks in the United States from the work that they do. Now, the highest level is imagination. This is where people use their minds and they use money to make more money. And these are the wealthiest people. Now, when you look around the world, people like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, a lot of those billionaire moguls are in this bracket. These people use their mind and their imagination to make money. They use their imagination to create innovative business models that really create value. So this week, I got the privilege to participate in a call where Myron Golden was present. And I'm a member of School of Hard Knocks. I really recommend everybody to join that. So basically, this allows upcoming entrepreneurs to participate in online mentorship and even one-on-one mentorship with very successful millionaires and billionaires, especially in the United States. And you can actually talk to them, understand how they think, ask questions, engage with them, learn a bit about their journey and their story. You can gain a lot of wisdom for that. And a lot of what they teach are things that we can implement in our lives practically that can really change the course of our journeys. So this Wednesday, we got to meet Myron Golden, and I've always been curious to understand where he got this revelation of the 4 levels of value. So when my turn came, I raised my hand in the call and I asked, Myron Golden, I've heard you teaching about the 4 levels of value, and I cited the YouTube video about how they programmed you to be poor. And he kind of like smiled. He seemed kind of excited to hear the question that was coming. So I asked him, where did you get this knowledge about the 4 levels of value? Was it a book that you read, or is it, let's say, some revelation that you came across just from your experience? So Myron Golden smiled and he told me, I got it from a book. And I was curious to know what book it was. I thought he was going to maybe, cite a famous book and, say who the author is. And he's like, the book that I got it from is the Bible. And he saw my face expression and saw that I was really intrigued. And I was like, the Bible? He's like, yes, I got it from Genesis 1. And I got more curious because I've probably read the Bible from cover to cover over 10 times easily over the past 17 years that I've been a Christian, but I've never actually read Genesis 1 and got such a profound revelation. So he broke it down further. He told me that he got it from Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. Then he broke it down to me, right? He cited the verse. It says, then God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. Verse 27 goes on to say, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. Then verse 28 says, and God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth. So then he broke it down to me. He said, you see, hermano, before God spoke man into being, God first imagined man. So man was an imagination in the mind of God. And then he said, let us make man in our image and after our likeness, right? So first he had the image of man in his head, right? In his mind, rather. So that is the highest form of creativity, right? And then God spoke it into being. So that's where the hierarchy of imagination, number 1, comes from. And then number 2, he spoke it into being, communication, right? That's the second level of value, right? And the third one was when God gave man the instruction to be fruitful, multiply, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the air. That now is unification. That's where man is supposed to use management skills to create value on the earth. Then he broke down the lowest level, which is implementation. That's when man on a daily basis was supposed to labor in the Garden of Eden in order to create value. So this is where he got it from. So this really made me reflect a whole lot further, right? I had understood from the teaching from watching the YouTube before I met him in person that the highest level of value creation are these entrepreneurs that use their imagination to create business models. Let's look at, for example, some of the industrial revolutions that we've seen. In the information technology era, some of the figures that really made a mark include people like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. Bill Gates created a software called Microsoft, and it was a very innovative business model. Steve Jobs, on the other hand, kind of revolutionized the whole computer thing, right? The Apple computer was quite an innovation in the global market, and as a result, in a very short space of time, the company got listed in the stock exchange, and he moved up to millionaire and billionaire status. In the revolution that we see today, we have the AI revolution. Some of the faces of it include the CEO of NVIDIA, as well as Sam Altman. So these are people that use their imagination to create these businesses. We've seen Sam Altman create ChatGPT, which is an AI chat kind of thing. A chatbot rather, and it had the fastest adoption ever in the history of mankind, right? If you look at any innovative product such as Facebook or any sort of social media or just any product worldwide, this had the fastest adoption. When you look back at 1994 when Jeff Bezos founded Amazon, he knew that at the time the internet was growing exponentially, and he understood that if he could sell a product that has the highest category, or the largest category rather, he could make a whole lot of money. And books was the single product with the highest category, and he understood that if he could successfully sell books online, he can create a whole lot of value and a whole lot of wealth. And these people today are worth over $100 billion. $100 billion rather. Sam Altman is not there yet, but obviously we've seen him catapult up to billionaire status in a short space of time. His company is going through quite a bit. I have seen that there was a successful raise that kind of kept the company afloat, and eventually it's going to be able to create enough value to eventually become a profitable business. So the question one would ask is, why am I sharing this knowledge, right? I'm doing this for two reasons. Number one, this has really changed my life, right? The first time I heard this teaching, I realized that I could be creating a whole lot of value beyond the management skills that I create in my day job. I could actually use and apply my mind to create value by creating innovative business models, and I'm in the process of doing that. I thought that by sharing this information, I can inspire someone to do the same, and this could change your life in the long run. And the second reason is this. Right now, we're in a very heated period in the United States. We're just 1 month away from the presidential elections. And we do see a very strong conflict of ideologies. On the right side, you have the free market capitalists on the Republican side. And then on the left, you have the Democrats, right, who are more on the socialist side of things, right? And sometimes when I talk to people on the Democratic side of things, there seems to be some sort of demonization of very wealthy people. The whole idea that the wealthy ought to pay more taxes, right? I kind of understand where they're coming from, but this is my perspective. Look at people like Jeff Bezos' journeys, right? When they started their businesses, they really took high risk, they really bet on themselves, they put their money aside. Some of these people went through a very hard time and faced intense hardships when they established these businesses. Jeff Bezos, for example, made hundreds of millions of dollars of losses. A lot of the capital came from investors, and he was under immense pressure during the early years of the company. And due to his toughness and resilience, eventually he turned things around. Now, people like him in the United States, due to their influence and the wealth and the value that they create in the economy, they end up lobbying with a lot of the senators and people in Congress who have influence to pass laws. And due to that, they've been able to pass some tax-free laws. So a lot of the investment capital that goes into businesses and goes into property in the United States is tax-free, right? But on the other hand, it creates a lot of money due to investing in small businesses. It creates a lot of employment opportunity, and venture investing in the United States is in the north of a few $100 billion per annum, right? I've noticed that people on the left tend to demonize businesses. A lot of people have this underlying belief that very wealthy people are all greedy people and evil people. But when you look at the value they create, it's not really so. These are people that create a whole lot of value in the economy. These are people that, use their imagination to create businesses. As a result, a lot of people are employed today. How many people do you and I know that work for companies like Google, companies like Apple, companies like Amazon? And these companies exist because once upon a time, somebody bet on themselves, risk a lot of money, risk their entire lives to establish these enterprises, and the failure rate of businesses is really high. The failure rate of startups is over 90%. And these people are part of like the top 10%, top 1% of the startups, and they're creating a whole lot of jobs and a whole lot of value. Even though they themselves don't pay a lot of tax with their investment capital, the corporations pay corporate tax. The people that they employ create earn salaries, and they pay income tax. So at the end of the day, this does create a whole lot of value for the economy. So in other words, this is very oversimplified. I'd like to hear your thoughts, so please do drop a comment. Let us know what you think. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Messiah Show.